for another episode of Mental Health. It's not all black and white. So, Shannon, why don't you start us off today?
I can do that. So, Lisa, I've been thinking a lot about topics you had presented to me a couple of months ago when we decided to do this podcast. And the one that piqued my interest for today was growth versus healing and what that looks like for the individual who comes into the therapeutic setting.
Okay.
And I had to think about it because we hope as therapists that when an individual comes in for counseling that they're wanting to heal, and I think with healing comes growth. But I have noticed that some people that come in for counseling don't necessarily do the work to heal, but they can change their mindset on life, maybe even situations that they're currently in, relationships that they're currently in, and they can grow. So I'm curious what your thoughts on that. But let me, before we dive into that, let me tell you what I believe growth to be, which is an increase in self-awareness, better emotional regulation. Those two will obviously, hopefully, lead to improved relationships with self, with family, with friends, with coworkers, with peers. And then also with growth, it can help expand our capabilities and help us achieve potential. And then converse to that is healing, which is about restoring health and well-being. And healing encompasses physical realm, the emotional realm, the spiritual realm, and even the social realm. And healing will help improve our quality of life. It'll help improve relationships like growth can and should. And it can help reduce suffering and increase self-determination.
Okay. So, thanks for those definitions. I feel like my initial thoughts, like when we talked about the topic for today, growth versus healing, initially my thoughts are, well, aren't they synonymous? But when you put that versus there, it's like, okay, there's some kind of difference between growth and healing. And in listening to the definitions, I can see where, and I don't mean to dismiss the importance of growth with what I'm about to say, but I feel like it lends itself to understand that growth may appear to be a bit more superficial as compared to healing, which requires more work, right, to get to that place of resolve.
Correct. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I definitely believe that healing requires a lot of internal work and recognition of areas that need to improve and areas of growth, right? But growth doesn't necessarily require someone to heal, right?
Yeah.
We see a lot of high achievers who, God bless them, I want to be a high achiever. High achievers, highly successful individuals who rock and roll and we, I guess, can be in awe of because they've attained some great success, whatever it may be, professionally, relationally. I would say maybe relationally growth and healing probably need to occur, but I don't know, that's for another day. And curious about feedback from anybody that watches this podcast. But they don't, these, in high achievers, I'm just using as examples, so please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. That doesn't mean that they've done any real interpersonal work to heal maybe past trauma, issues from childhood, and relationships. Right?
Yeah, good points. So then, I was thinking as you were talking, when it comes to growth versus healing, I had a conversation today with a client talking about not really wanting to do EMDR because it was going back to the roots, going back to the past, and not really seeing any benefit in rehashing the past. So more so looking for like talk therapy, to maybe help reframe the thoughts, or develop some coping skills for dealing with the issues. And I feel like this topic is really in line with even that thought process, because you can come to me and say, I just want you to teach me some coping skills. I just want you to maybe help me learn some different ways of behaving. But is that healing? Is that kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a surgical wound when you know that there's some deeper stuff that needs to be resolved, but not really wanting to lend yourself to the process?
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. And then I think we have to ask ourselves as therapists, how do we help this individual, right? If they're coming in just for some personal growth and development, which is totally fine,
Sure.
then we have to meet them where they are, and provide them with tools or skill sets that they can apply to their lives to carry forward in their lives. My question to you is when you get a client like that, do you challenge them on their desire for just wanting to do talk therapy and not go deep and potentially heal? Do you challenge them on that?
Absolutely. I do. And at the end of the day, I let the client know it's their choice.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's why we're here. We're here to walk with the client through their pain, through their issues on their journey. And it takes some intentionality to like step back, right? And relinquish that control and give it back to the client, because they're the one who came to me in the first place. So I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I didn't share my perspective, but at the end of the day, it's their choice.
Agreed.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I do my best to meet them where they are. Excuse me, and put the ball in their court. And I will at times acknowledge to them as we go through that process that healing. It seems to me healing needs to occur. And have you considered this, whatever this may be, this childhood wound or this broken relationship or et cetera, have you considered that that it impacted your development in childhood and how that carried over into adulthood and how that may be impacting you today? I do challenge them, but ultimately it's their decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anything else on your mind around this topic, or?
Maybe not today, but I wouldn't mind having another session with you, episode with you that discusses those different realms: the physical realm, the emotional realm, the spiritual realm, and the social realm of healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would really enjoy that.
That sounds good. And I think maybe we can also add to the discussion, like, is there a way that you can tell if a person is on the growth track or are they on the healing track?
I like that a lot.
Maybe that's something we can talk about too.
So maybe next episode is part 2.
Part 2 of growth versus healing.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your time,
Thank
Shannon.
you, Lisa.
Okay.
Take
we'll
care.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.